We're live.
We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome. Wonder what our listeners are doing today. I heard someone had gone for a walk and they listened to us while walking. I know people are listening in the car. I wonder what the other options are.
There's lots of options. They can be listening while they're working. I don't know if their bosses would be happy with that, but
Well, if you look around your office and someone's snickering out loud, that might be us. It could be. It could be.
it could be. What I love, we get that comment a lot that we're funny. And I was like, I don't know that that's necessarily our intention, but I love that we're bringing laughter to the world because laughter heals. And as a healer, I want more laughter out there.
Totally. I love that. And also that all the ridiculous antics of my life can bring someone joy. That's phenomenal.
Right?
Yeah. This past, let's see, I don't know if you can really see that on screen. Like so for those on podcast, I was on the phone recently and I was trying to close a piece of photography equipment. I was not paying attention. I was not being mindful or present in any way. And the piece of equipment that I was using has a 15-pound weight on it. The full force of 15 pounds of swinging weight smashed my finger. The poor lady on the phone, I was like, I think I broke my finger. And I'm freaking out into the phone thinking, oh my God, I'm going to end up in some Facebook forum about crazy stuff that happened while I was on the phone, customer service. But anyway, so yeah, so now my finger is like purple and giant and yeah, it's phenomenal.
Nice. Well, I hope you iced it.
I iced it as soon as I could and also realized that I am not one for cold. I put my finger in like a cup of ice water. Julietta, if I tell you, maybe like 4 minutes, and I just couldn't bear it. I'm such a baby when it comes to icing. And then I watched a documentary the other day of these three ladies that they're swimming in Lake Michigan. And even during the winter, when they literally have to break through the ice, they go in and dip into the ice. And I'm like, I couldn't keep my finger in there. These women are up to their necks. Like,
well, you do understand. I grew up 8 blocks away from Lake Michigan.
Oh my gosh! Oh my!
And let me tell you, that lake is never warm. Like even in July, it'll be 100 degrees outside, but that lake is still cold. But there are a group for New Year's. They call them the polar bears, and
Yes.
they all go jump in the lake for to start the new year. I will say the vast majority of them are completely drunk when they go do that.
And I will say they're also like Nordic. I mean, I'm guessing you're not catching a lot of Cubans in there.
Well, funny story, growing up, we hosted a lot of exchange students, and one of our Dominican exchange students, grew up on the island, had never seen snow till they came to our place, and he went and jumped in. So
wow. Well, more power.
I have never jumped in on, I've swam in the lake in the summer. I'm going to tell you, it's still cold in the summer. It's not really enjoyable to be in the water, but it is what it is.
That's impressive. Well, in other news, I guess embarrassingly, but whatever. I'm too old to get embarrassed about things. But again, me not being mindful, I did not pack a lunch today because we're recording podcasts all day. So I just had what I call the podcaster's lunch, which is these 3 pieces of Dove chocolates. That was my lunch.
I love it. You know what I love even more? I think those might be the Dove chocolates that I left over there.
Oh, yeah, those are gone from a long time ago. These are actually
these are new ones. Okay.
Yeah, new ones. So Rebecca,
but they're full of love. That's why I buy the Dove. They all have the love messages inside.
And what's really interesting is that Rebecca mentioned that chocolate is very grounding. So we had a rebirthing workshop here that she led, and it was intense. It was a lot, Kundalini and breath and meditation and gong and all kinds of good stuff. And then she gave us chocolate at the end, like for grounding. So now every time I have a piece of chocolate, I've convinced myself it's for grounding purposes.
So someone once told me that chocolate is a gift from God for us to remember what heaven is like.
Oh, that's dangerous. That's a good one. I don't know how to indulge in this and live healthfully. So I think we need to get our guest on.
We need to bring on our guest to give us some words of wisdom about food here. Hello, Lynn. Welcome to the show.
I am just so rearing to go here after hearing all that.
Well, let's not hold you back then. Let's have you introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them about who you are, what you do, and what keeps you passionate about what you're doing.
All right. Well, I'm old, so it takes a while to say all that in my case, and I love talking about old ladies because, it's
the best.
It's absolutely a gift. It's lovely. So I'm 77 and I'm a grandma. And I find every time I'm saying that, it's like, yeah, I'm a grandma, it feels like a superpower, and I love it dearly. I'm here particularly as a gift to you, ladies. I'm sent to you, apparently, because my newest book is called Brownies for Breakfast.
Ooh, you caught my attention, Lynn. Caught my attention.
Brownies as in deeply chocolate. I happen to have a copy right here so you can see the cover. You see what that is? That's chocolate frosting.
Nice.
Okay. But the subtitle is A Cookbook for Diabetics and the People Who Love Them. So guess what? It's all sugar-free, gluten-free, super healthy, and it's not, when you think about it, so for diabetics and the people who love them, that's everybody. And the truth of the matter is that the same diet, the same way of eating, that's I think the WOE is what we're calling it now, way of eating, is good for heart disease and irritable bowel. And I mean, the whole list of stuff, if you would just stop eating crap.
I know sugar is the root of all evil. I recognize it with my brain, but my body doesn't want to listen, Lynn.
I'm here to help. All right. The snarky granny diet. It's easy. All you do is stop eating sugar completely. Read the label, every label. Don't ever eat anything without knowing what's in it. You're going to be upset at first because you're going to go, wait, I've been eating this and it's got this stuff in it. But here's the good news. There are sugar substitutes that are out now and in the last, 10, 15 years, especially the last 5 years, that are terrific. And you'll see online, we're all seeing them, all the, don't fall for artificial sweeteners. You know what? Do fall for non-sugar sweeteners. And allulose is one that I really like. And I want to bring that up because a lot of people don't know about it yet. Allulose, Allulose. It's a natural product. It's just made out of plants. It's not chemicals. When you see the label, it's going to say one thing. It's going to say allulose. That's the only thing in the bag. And it tastes like sugar. It looks like sugar. It cooks like sugar, but it doesn't react like sugar in your body. No calories, no reaction, excuse me, no blood glucose spike, nothing. Consequently, you can have chocolate, deeply, gorgeously delicious chocolate, and have it be good for you because the cocoa beans, the chocolate is good for you. It's the sugar and the added fat and the little preservative stuff, all that. So my gift to you is, yes, ladies, eat chocolate all you want. No sugar.
You're so right. And it's been so frustrating over the last, 15, 20 years, probably 20 years now, right? Because first it was Equal, and then it was Sweet and Low, and then it was Splenda, and then after that something else and something else. And as soon as you think you got the right thing, the next thing is trying to kill you. And it's like,
right. And what we all need to remember is we are being sold stuff all the time. Now, I'm going to confess, I'm a former marketing person, advertising executive, so I'm guilty of doing that. But big food has been selling us crap for generations now, decades, many decades. and we've bought it. Whatever they said was healthy and good. And so we went, okay, cool. Whatever was good for our kids. Yeah, okay, great. And we didn't read the label, right? And we didn't look for the studies, and we didn't go past just, oh, healthy, good, okay. Um, we needed to completely kind of restart when it comes to what do we eat and what do we feed our families. And it's easy to say, it's less easy to implement if you're not used to it. And it's whole food, real food, plant-based food. Now, I didn't say vegan, I didn't say vegetarian, I said plant-based, mostly plants. So whole food, real food, mostly plants. And then the last one, I love Michael Pollan, great author. He adds not too much. But the thing is, I defy anyone to eat too much cabbage,
Right.
right? Or arugula or beets even. When you're eating good whole food, this amazing thing happens. You fill up and you've eaten and you're satisfied and you've had a gift from the goddesses. It's all good. If you're eating crap, you have a different reaction because it's designed so you'll keep eating. We know this, right? I'm seeing heads nod. We know about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, life gets busy, you get crazy, you need a fast thing, right? Like today, that's how we ended up eating those 3 pieces of chocolate and calling it a lunch because we're in the middle of doing all of these things, right? And so tell us a little bit more about your book and the techniques or advice that you're giving in there, because I love that you mentioned, like, yes, it's for diabetics, but it's really for everyone, right? There isn't anyone that couldn't benefit from removing sugar from their diet.
Everybody. And sugar, just let's say it in case there's anybody out there who doesn't know that sugar is addictive. It's more addictive than heroin. And I don't mean that metaphorically, I mean it literally. All the studies are out there. There are many of them. They're good studies. Sugar is addictive, which is why those guys in those buildings in New Jersey, the craveability industry, put sugar in everything. Everything. I mean, once you really force yourself to read labels, you're just going, what? In chicken pot pie? There's sugar? Yeah. Everything has sugar in it. So you'll appreciate that I have restaurants with one or two recipes with 1 or 2 ingredients. Can you see that?
Oh, beautiful.
One of my favorite dinners, popcorn of the gods. I should have said goddesses, shouldn't I?
Right.
Wow. Well, next edition, we'll fix that. But the whole idea is popcorn, it's real food. It's real. It's lovely. It's fantastic. And if you add a little truffle salt, yeah, so good. And I'm a believer in beautiful food.
Yes.
Eat the rainbow. We've had other people say that. Those are radishes, just radishes. But if you're making an effort to eat beautifully and healthy, and here's the thing, soup. Americans don't eat soup very much. And soup, as every grandma ever knew in every culture, that's how you don't waste anything. That's how you use up what you have in your fridge. That's how you feed a bunch of people and have them go, oh my gosh, that's fantastic, on practically nothing. So there are a number of soup recipes in here, but they're to riff on, to play with. And one of them, called Genius Soup, is particularly genius, because you open up your crisper drawer and go in there and get that sorry looking kale and the spinach that you bought 3-4 days ago and stuff, and you make it into soup. And I tell you how. It's cheap, it's fast. I mean, the soup cooks all afternoon, or in your crock pot or your Instapot, but putting it together just takes no time or effort. You don't need any knife technique, you don't need to measure anything. People go, wait, you wrote a cookbook and you don't like to measure anything? Yeah, that's me. Messy cook. But I think that's you too. I think that's all of us who are doing too much. We've got other stuff happening. We can't just, and everybody loves the cooking shows now, right? We'd rather watch somebody cook
Right.
than actually cook. But that's because the stuff you see on the cooking shows is carefully calibrated and measured, and then the cakes are all decorated and stuff. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're making gazpacho. Do you like gazpacho?
Beautiful.
Yes.
And you pay $15 for a teaspoon of this in a restaurant. It will cost you next to nothing to make it when your tomatoes come in, or when you can get some good tomatoes. And then that thing in the middle is nothing but a nasturtium that grows in your garden or in pots like weeds. And you pull that puppy out, you throw it on top with a little sprinkle of, in my case, I like cilantro. Not everyone does, but parsley. And those things like cilantro and parsley are, I love to point out, some of the most nutritious food you'll eat. And we've been throwing them away. Remember when they used to put parsley in the meat package and you get it home and the plastic would go and the parsley would go? The parsley was the good part.
And they're natural cleansers as well, aren't they?
Yes, they're fabulous food. And nobody died growing that parsley. And the parsley didn't pollute the rivers. It's just this sweet little innocent kind of weed-like vegetable that you're meant to eat. And I keep a little bouquet of it on my counter, actually. And I like parsley with attitude, like Italian parsley, the big green, beautiful parsley. And I keep a bouquet of it and I snip it and put it on everything, eggs, sandwiches, salads, soup, anything. And that's the kind of habit that I want you all to be working on instead of the Dutch.
I love that those herbs add such potent flavor in such a quick and easy way. The bane of my existence is flavorless food. Flavor is one of my higher values.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk a lot about, and plus it starts with your eyes. Food needs to delight you. It needs to smell fabulous. Here we go. It needs to look fabulous. This is rhubarb. I call it celery and drag.
I love it.
Which no calories. It grows like a weed. If you've got a little patch of dirt, it grows everywhere. You don't have to replant it. It just keeps regrowing. And all you need to do is add a little allulose and cook it for 5 minutes. And you have something that when you put it on the table, everybody goes, whoa, what's that? And you can put strawberries in it if you want to, but you don't have to. And it's vegetable. It's all good. Oh, here's one I want to show you. Here's very, very good gelato, which
beautiful.
Three ingredients, girls. If you have one of those little things on your countertop, the little small processor is one of my favorite things. And you throw the berries and the allulose, and you can put a little yogurt in there if you want to make it creamy. Boom, done. So good. So I am a big believer in, here's lemon curd. Now, is that pretty or what?
Beautiful.
And it's made out of, guess what? Lemon. Yeah. And a secret ingredient that you'll have to buy the book. Sorry.
I want to go back to the rhubarb. Growing up, my grandma always had rhubarb growing in the yard.
Grandmas. Yes.
Yes. She would make rhubarb jam, rhubarb pies, rhubarb bars, rhubarb cake. But I don't think rhubarb grows in Florida because it's really, really hard to find down here.
Well, ladies, research.
Gonna have to.
Because maybe the humidity
memories that I miss.
maybe the alligators get it first or something. I don't know. Those boa constrictors I keep reading about. That's kind of scary. But your grandma loved it, as I do, because your grandma was cheap. Your grandma didn't pay anything for that rhubarb.
Yeah.
It's free. And guess what else is free? Berries, blackberries. They grow everywhere. And I don't know about Florida.
Yeah, we're not that lucky down here.
At most,
Maybe
we can do like
Strawberries we can get.
coconuts,
That's about
lemon,
it.
oranges, lemon, limes. Citrus is big here,
Right. And I grew up in LA. And so a lot of the similarities there, we didn't have the water in LA. We stole it. You may know that story. But the lemons and limes and coconuts and all those things, we talk about all that. All great food, just please no sugar. Use something else. And I would be happy to send you free. Just sign up on my website, and I will not harass you, I promise, but I will send you free the brownie recipe and a couple of pages about sweeteners, which is stuff that a lot of people don't really pay attention to or know. It's kind of like it's just all been shoved aside as
Yeah.
And I noticed 3-4 years ago, I could not get anyone to listen to the sugar-free story. No one wanted to hear sugar-free. It's like, no thanks, 'cause it's just this attitude of it can't be good if it's sugar-free. That's changing now. I think a lot more people are educating themselves about food and nutrition and internet stuff, and I don't know, but the brownies, by the way, are being sold here up the road at a little cafe that everyone loves, Lomamar store. So sweet. And I think they say now no sugar added, which people go, oh, that's okay. Right? That's okay. But what's in the brownies, are you ready? And Graciela, you need to know this because Dove Girl.
I'm ready.
Okay. Pumpkin, pureed pumpkin.
Nice.
Surprising.
Nut butter.
Speaking my language.
Okay. Cinnamon. Eggs, or you can make it with egg substitute, just fine. They turn out great. What am I forgetting? Maybe a pinch of salt. I forget. Baking soda.
Beautiful.
That's pretty much it. A chocolate, cocoa, just right out of the can, no sugar, regular old ground up cocoa beans. You mix it up in one bowl, super easy. If you get the amounts off by a teaspoon or two, nobody cares. You cook it in one pan.
So you're cooking with your heart, Lynn. You're cooking with your heart. So let me ask you, how did you get here? How did you get to writing a cookbook and following our mission? Like, what did you have any doubts and limiting beliefs about this idea of putting together a cookbook? How did that come about?
I skipped all that.
Skipped having doubts?
I know you're supposed to.
No, that's amazing. Tell us your secret.
Yeah, we all have little doubt, but I don't even call them doubts. I call them just sort of input, feedback. I have been writing professionally since 1966.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm still walking, and causing trouble, and I'm proud to say. But I left UCLA because I found it really boring and stupid in 1966 and went to work. I liked working. I wanted somebody to pay me to write as opposed to paying somebody else to have me write stuff. And that's a whole other story, but I liked working, and I went to France and worked there and came back and I got a job in among other things. Yeah, and we didn't have resumes, we didn't have plans. In 1966, the whole world, kind of like now in a way, that was in this transition. It was nuts. I grew up in LA. you've all by now read about what happened here in 64, 65, 66. It was crazy. But I wanted to work. And in addition to being hip and happening, and wearing cool clothes, which we certainly did, but I wanted to work and I liked working. And I always felt like I was learning more working than I was sitting in some lecture hall with some guy way down in the bottom, with slides. I would always fall asleep. So that may have had something to do with what was going on at night, but that's another story.
It was the 60s. We can't talk about it.
It was the 60s, and none of us can remember anyway, so it's all right. But so I took a job that I was very excited about with Redken Laboratories. They were a brand new hair care company who was doing this sort of natural protein-based hair stuff. And about 3 weeks after I got hired, I walked in and everyone but me in the advertising department had been fired summarily. They were gone.
Wow.
Right. And so there I was, 21, And I went into the president of the company, who was a woman that I grew to just love, Paula Kent, and said, I can do this with you and we'll do whatever we need to, and, so on. And you know what that is learning to say yes. And I think we do that as children. I think it comes early, and I don't know exactly why, but I've always erred on the side of saying, yeah, okay, yes. And you get in trouble and you fall down and you get in the gutter and all these things, but you also have some great adventures that way. And I don't know about you girls, but I would rather be that cowgirl who had the ride, who did the thing. I don't want to be the one up in the stands eating popcorn. I mean,
Right.
although I love popcorn. Yeah.
Like they say, you only regret the things you did not do, right?
Absolutely.
So remind me again, you might have said this and I think I missed it, but when did you write the cookbook? When did you write that?
That was actually published in May of 21.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're also a pandemic author too. That's amazing. I think every guest we've had on today, or, over this past last couple of episodes, wrote over the pandemic. That's so fascinating. So did you have a diabetic family member? Like, how did you choose to focus on that? You're a diabetic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I reversed my own diabetes.
Wow.
And I want everybody to prevent or reverse or control their chronic disease. So that's why I'm out here hollering, you can do this. And if you think healthy food costs more, just think for about 1 second how much ill health costs you.
Yeah. That's amazing. And from the time you, what was your timeline? Like, you had this diagnosis and then at some point it, came to you that eating healthy would make a big difference. How long was that?
It's a long story, Graciela, because my mother died young. I was 18. She was in her early 40s, and she died of a chronic disease. So I had lived with her chronic disease. It wasn't diabetes, but I went into the world as a young adult with this deep knowledge of what chronic disease does to not just an individual, but a family. Everyone around you is deeply, permanently affected by your chronic disease. She couldn't control hers, but you can probably control yours. And that's what I want. And I controlled mine. And I found out in my 40s when, I had gestational diabetes. I have 3 kids. And I was told then, and the medical care was not what it is now. All men, by the way, delivering babies and so on. That's another show, right? I've got stories about that. But I found out that I had gestational diabetes. So they said then, well, you'll develop type 2 diabetes when you're a little older. So when I was a little older, my 40s, I started saying on my regular visits to the gynecologist, shouldn't you test me for diabetes? Well, you're fine. You're not overweight and you're young and shouldn't you test me? Finally, I got someone to give me a test, and sure enough, my numbers were not looking good. So I knew early, whereas so many people don't get the hemoglobin A1C test, which is the kind of, the best way to know what your overall average blood glucose is. So many people don't get that until much later, when they are starting to kind of feel the ravages of age, and so they get a test, because diabetes does not have symptoms. For decades, you can be
Wow.
diabetic and not know it.
I
But
didn't
guess
know
what?
that.
Yeah, your kidney knows, your liver knows, your heart knows. So by the time you get tested, all this damage has been done to your, and particularly, and let's pick on men for a minute, one of my favorite things to do. Because those of us who love a man, maybe more than one, we know that they will not go and get checked. They will do anything to keep from going to the doctor. But you know what gets them in? Erectile dysfunction. Yeah, we all know this. We're
Mhm,
nodding our heads.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that happens because of type 2 diabetes or heart disease, for the same reasons, because your hematic system, your blood is no longer able to get where it needs to go. So your erectile dysfunction is nature's way of saying, listen, you twit, come on, look what's happening. And there you go, and you get tested. So what I want, my dream is to have people start earlier in their lives, paying attention and doing the things that will prevent heart disease and prevent type 2 diabetes. And if you have it or are heading that direction, fix it. And you talk about this crazy COVID time that we're in. One of the things that happened to me was I had this book partially written. It was going and coming along fine, but I saw an advertisement for the Plantricians Conference, which was going to be close by in Oakland. And I thought, I need to go to that. I'm going to do that. And I'm also a believer in having, there are voices whispering to you at times. You don't know exactly who they are. You don't know why, but you go, that's a good voice. I'm going to listen to that one. And I went to this conference. I paid money, which is extraordinary for me, to go to this conference. And it was all about plant-based eating. And so I saw data for 5 days, morning till night, about your heart disease and your diabetes and your diet, all of it. And I went home and rewrote some of the book and added and subtracted some things, because the science is all there, that meat eating should be limited, and you should source your meat very carefully. Eggs, same thing. So I went vegan, and I experimented for a year, and I didn't have a bite of animal food. I went back to my doctor, and guess what? My numbers had improved dramatically. So, I used myself as my own experiment, and I've since seen so much data, so many of the studies, that if you are headed toward, or think you might be headed toward, heart disease or fatty liver or type 2 diabetes, you can stop it, turn it around, just by, and what's the snarky granny diet? Don't eat any crap. And the expanded version of that is what? Plant-based, whole foods, real foods. Not too much, but don't worry about that. And read the label, because there is a giant industry out there trying to get you to eat that crap, and only a couple of little ladies like me trying to get you to stop. Well, actually, it's funny. Do you ever see any of the shows on YouTube where the guys talking about the carnivore diet or the keto diet or whatever? And they always come out in their little t-shirts with their muscles kind of bulging. And,
Yeah.
they're talking about longevity and so on. And of course, what I'm thinking is, look, dude, you're 30 if you're a day. All right. I don't want to hear you talking about longevity. All right. I want you out there when you're 75, see what your little skinny butt looks like. And, you know, eating steaks for 60 years, see how you're doing. And I don't mean to knock eating meat. I am someone who thinks you should probably eat whatever works for you. And another thing, it's not the same for everybody. I mean, truly,
Exactly.
you know, some of us have more of a chocolate problem than others, and I include myself in that group, but we are different. You know, humans are adaptive critters, and the diet that works great for you might be slightly different for me. There are certain things in common, and it's what I'm telling you. Real food, whole food, and plant-based. According to everything we can see in science, plant-based, you know, the Mediterranean diet. And there are plenty of people out there who will argue with me and who go online going, plants will kill you, you know, plants are ridiculous. No, I'm serious. There's a big contingent of people out there talking about lectins and all these reasons why you should never eat a bean, you know, you should not eat plants. Well, there are people who with whom beans maybe don't agree, but there are plenty of us who could live on beans and be fine. So, you know, maybe I should take a breath so you can ask me a question.
No, you've been doing great, and you know, and this is definitely a new topic for our audience. You're the first like really nutrition-based conversation that we've had here, and information that all the goddesses definitely need to know out there. But we are kind of running out of time here, so I just want to ask, what's the final golden nugget that you want to leave for our audience? Some big piece of wisdom that they need to know.
Eat joyfully.
Yes.
Enjoy every bite and share. You know, food isn't just food. It's sacrament, it's communion, it's friendship, it's so many things. And too many people are eating alone in a car out of a bag.
Yeah.
So check in with yourself and see how much joy your food is bringing you. And I'm here to help with a cookbook, and or you know, go online and look at some of the stuff I am doing about it, and other people. There's information out there to help you eat more joyfully, and I think that's really at the base of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that anything that we do, we should do consciously and with joy and love. And so even when you have to eat those Dove chocolates because it's the only piece of food around you, at least if you do it from a place of joy, gratitude, love, it's going to have a different effect on you rather than eating it and feeling guilty about it, because that's putting negative energy on it when like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this. This is so bad for me, but it's all I got. Like, don't do that to yourself. Yes, always try and eat plant-based, real food. I mean, that's a big key today. Like, so much of the food that's in the supermarket isn't actually food. It's just this chemical gunk put together, and like you said, full of sugar, so you become addicted to it and want more of it. And
you said the word, Julietta, energy. You know, food carries energy with it, all kinds of different energies. And this is what you're putting in your body, literally, for energy. So don't be better to your Labrador retriever or your old snow dog, in my case, than you are to yourself. You know, we think about this stuff when we're feeding our cat, right? And we forget sometimes when we're feeding ourselves that this is our energy in every sense of the word.
yes.
Beautiful. I saw a movie recently. I forget what it was, but in the film, there's a young girl who is vegetarian or vegan. You know, she doesn't want to partake in the meat that they're serving at the table. And all the other guests start making fun of her, you know, because she's like the young one and they're the older ones. And, you know, they were like, well, why don't you want to eat meat? And she's like, because I don't want to eat fear. And it was such an interesting point that she made. She said, you know, when an animal is slaughtered in a particular way, the last emotion that it feels is fear, and fear releases certain chemicals. So you're literally eating fear, you know, and I'm not anti-meat by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a really interesting concept to be extremely mindful of the energy that you're putting into your body, right? Like make sure that you are putting into your body does come from a loving place, and it is created in a way that, you know, serves you and doesn't hinder you. So thank you for bringing that to our awareness.
Well, and I live in a place, I'm fortunate to be surrounded by regenerative agriculture, you know, kind of an epicenter. So many of these farmers and ranchers are really knocking themselves out to grow sustainably and consciously. And that goes for their critters as well as their plants. So I can get food that is energetically, I think, positive. And I would just urge everyone to really think about where they're sourcing their food, where it's coming from. Do you go to the farmer's market? Do you know the farmer? You know, I don't ever go in regular grocery stores anymore. I think partially because I've got PTSD from being a single mother of 3, and I spent way too much time, you know, at 10 o'clock at the discount canned goods store at night with 3 little ones trailing behind me that should be in bed. So I'm very careful about and I do shop at Trader Joe's, by the way. And I'm a fan and have been since they opened in California. But know where it's coming from, know what you're eating, and if it's got a label, it's suspect, but read the label. And you can save yourself so much grief and so many health problems by just doing that, even if you just do that.
There you go. You heard it here, folks. Eat mindfully, read your labels, pay attention, consume only beautiful, good energy. Thank you, Lynn, so much for being on the show. We're so grateful to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a magical day, everyone.
Bye.